Listen to me. Some of you have been living your whole life trying to be liked, trying to be accepted, trying to be the nice guy who never disagrees, never speaks up, never stands firm. You confuse kindness with weakness, and then you wonder why people talk over you, walk past you, and treat you like you're invisible. But hear me clearly, you don't get respect by shrinking yourself. You don't get respect by being agreeable. You don't get respect by playing small just to keep the peace. Respect starts the moment you decide to stop abandoning yourself to make everyone else comfortable. You keep saying you want to be respected, but every time life calls you to stand up, you sit down. Every time you need to say no, you whisper maybe. Every time someone crosses your line, you pretend you don't see it because you're scared of losing approval. That's not kindness. That's not humility. That's fear. And the world can smell fear before you even open your mouth. A man becomes worthy of respect when he shows up with discipline, with competence, with conviction. When he says what he means and means what he says. When his actions match his intentions. When he stops waiting for permission and starts taking responsibility. You keep thinking being nice is going to get you somewhere. But niceness without strength only leads to resentment. Niceness without self-respect turns into regret. Niceness without boundaries becomes an open invitation for people to use you, drain you, and overlook you. You want people to listen when you speak, then build a life that gives weight to your words. You want people to take you seriously? Then stop treating yourself like an afterthought. Respect doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being solid, from being reliable, from being a man who shows up, follows through, and refuses to compromise his character. This is the moment where you decide whether you'll keep living as the version of yourself that bends, breaks, and apologizes for existing, or rise into the version of yourself that stands tall, speaks boldly, and commands respect through who he is, not what he tries to be. Respect begins long before anyone gives it to you. It starts in the private spaces of your life, in the standards you choose to uphold when no one is watching, in the decisions you make when nobody is clapping, and in the way you speak to yourself before you ever open your mouth to speak to the world. Most people think respect is something that has to be earned from the outside, something that comes from achievements, status, or recognition. But the truth is far deeper. Respect begins with the standards you hold for yourself, not the validation you seek from others. If you don't respect yourself, others will sense it instantly, because respect is not a performance. It is a presence. Every time you lower your standards just to fit in, you send a message to yourself that your boundaries don't matter. Every time you let someone talk to you in a way that diminishes you, you silently teach yourself that you're not worth defending. And every time you betray your own goals, skip the work you promised yourself you would do, or let your weaknesses lead instead of your principles, you reinforce the idea that your word, even to yourself, cannot be trusted. Respect doesn't grow in that environment. It dies there. So before you ever worry about how others see you, the first question you must ask is, do I respect me? Do I trust me? Do I hold myself accountable to the standards I claim to live by? People can feel the difference between a man who respects himself and a man who looks for others to validate him. A man who respects himself moves differently. He speaks with conviction because he knows he stands for something real. He sets boundaries without guilt because he understands that protecting his energy is part of protecting his future. He doesn't beg for approval because he already has the most important approval, his own. And when he does speak, people listen, not because he demands respect, but because he embodies it. The opposite is also true. When you don't hold yourself to a standard, the world sees it immediately. You think you're hiding your insecurity behind niceness, but people can sense when your kindness comes from fear, when your voice shakes because you don't truly believe what you're saying, and when your actions lack consistency because you're trying to be everything for everyone, instead of being one solid thing for yourself. That kind of behavior doesn't earn respect. It earns tolerance at best and exploitation at worst. Self-respect is not about arrogance or dominance. It's about responsibility. It's about saying, I am responsible for the man I am becoming. It's about consistently choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. It's about investing your time, your energy, and your effort into becoming someone you admire in the mirror. Because when you admire yourself, when you trust yourself, when you know you keep your word to yourself, you develop a level of internal strength that no one can take from you. That strength becomes the foundation of respect. Think about the people you respect most. You don't respect them because they're always happy, or always agreeable, or always liked by everyone. You respect them because they're consistent, because they stand on something, because they hold themselves, and often you, to a higher standard. You respect them because you see discipline in their actions, integrity in their choices, and clarity in their goals. They don't sway with every opinion. They don't crumble under pressure. They don't betray themselves to please others. And because they respect themselves, you feel compelled to respect them too. That's how respect works. It flows from the inside out, never from the outside in. Trying to chase validation, approval, or praise will never make you worthy of respect. If anything, it weakens you. You become a reflection of people's opinions instead of a reflection of your own standards. And sooner or later, people stop listening to you because deep down, they can see that you don't stand on anything solid. But when you raise your standards, when you take responsibility for your habits, your discipline, your character, your focus, everything starts to shift. You stop allowing disrespect because you refuse to disrespect yourself. You stop tolerating mediocrity because you're not living in it anymore. You stop chasing recognition because you're too busy building the kind of life that naturally earns it. Respect is not something you demand. It's not something you buy. It's something you grow through your daily choices, your daily actions, and your daily commitment to becoming the strongest, clearest, most disciplined version of yourself. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, the world has no choice but to adjust. Being nice without boundaries is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself. Many people misunderstand niceness as kindness, humility, or compassion, but when you peel back the layers, you often find something very different underneath. You find fear. You find insecurity. You find a person who thinks the only way to be accepted is to never create discomfort. And in trying to avoid discomfort, they slowly abandon themselves. That's why being nice without boundaries isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment, and people sense it long before you do. When you're overly nice, you don't express your real thoughts. You don't say no when you need to. You don't enforce your limits. You shrink when life demands that you stand tall. You silence your own voice to keep others happy. And every time you do, you chip away at your courage, your confidence, and your identity. You tell yourself you're being polite or respectful, but deep down you know you're betraying your own needs, values, and instincts. Kindness comes from strength, but fake niceness comes from fear, and people can feel the difference immediately. People trust and respect those who stand for something. Someone who never disagrees, never pushes back, never asserts themselves, and never draws lines isn't seen as nice. They're seen as unreliable. Because if you can't stand up for yourself, how can you be trusted to stand up for anything else? Respect requires firmness. Respect requires clarity. Respect requires that you protect your own emotional, mental, and physical space. But when everything is allowed, everything becomes chaotic. When you don't set boundaries, people will create them for you, and they'll rarely be in your favor. That's why someone without boundaries is often the first one to be taken advantage of, ignored, or overlooked. People learn how to treat you based on what you allow. If you allow disrespect, it becomes normal. If you allow your time to be wasted, people will assume your time has no value. If you allow yourself to be spoken to in ways that diminish you, people will assume you're comfortable with it. When you consistently say yes while wanting to say no, you train the world to believe you don't matter. And when people believe you don't matter, they treat you like you don't matter. But the most dangerous part isn't how others treat you, it's how you begin to treat yourself. You start to believe your needs are unimportant. You start to feel guilty for wanting space, respect, or fairness. You start to lose your sense of identity because you spend so much time trying to fit into what others want you to be. Boundaries aren't walls that block people out. They're lines that protect your values, energy, and identity. They allow you to give from strength rather than depletion. They allow you to show up as your best self instead of a drained, resentful version of you. People who are genuinely kind know how to say no. They know how to speak up. They know how to correct behavior. They know how to walk away from disrespect. Real kindness requires self-respect. It requires honesty. It requires courage. There is nothing kind about letting people walk all over you. There is nothing kind about letting someone drain your energy because you're too afraid to disappoint them. You cannot truly care for others while neglecting yourself. And you cannot truly be kind if your kindness is rooted in fear of rejection. The moment you begin setting boundaries, you shift the entire way the world interacts with you. The people who only benefited from your lack of boundaries will resist, complain, or attempt to guilt trip you. But the people who value you will adjust, respect your limits, and understand your stance. Boundaries don't push away the right people. They filter out the wrong ones. They reveal who's been benefiting from your silence and who genuinely cares about your well-being. Many people think that setting boundaries will make them unlikable. But what truly makes a man worthy of respect is the courage to say, "This is where I stand. This is what I allow. This is what I don't tolerate." People might not always like it, but they will respect it. And that respect often turns into deeper trust, because people know exactly who they're dealing with. They know you won't lie to avoid conflict. They know you won't pretend to be okay with something you're not. They know your yes means yes, and your no means no. Being nice without boundaries is draining. Being kind with boundaries is powerful. When you hold your ground, you stop seeking approval and start living with integrity. You stop twisting yourself to fit into other people's expectations and start showing up as your authentic self. You stop fearing conflict and start embracing clarity. And once you understand that boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary, you transform from someone who gets overlooked into someone who gets respected. Chasing approval is one of the most exhausting, humiliating, and self-destructive habits a man can fall into because it places your entire sense of worth in the hands of other people. When you chase approval, you are essentially saying, "Validate me so I can feel like I matter." But needing validation is the quickest way to lose both respect and control over your own life. Approval chasing turns you into a version of yourself that isn't authentic, isn't confident, and isn't grounded. It keeps you living on the emotional edge because every compliment lifts you up and every criticism knocks you down. That means you never stand on your own feet. You're standing on the opinions of others, and opinions shift with the wind. A man who chases approval acts like he's auditioning for everyone's acceptance. He changes his tone, his behavior, even his values depending on who he's around. He tries to avoid conflict at all costs. He exaggerates stories to sound more impressive. He forces jokes hoping to be liked. He agrees with things he doesn't believe in. And the worst part is that the more he does this, the further he strays from who he truly is. He becomes a watered-down version of himself, diluted, inconsistent, and unreliable. People sense it instantly because humans have a natural ability to detect insecurity. The more you seek approval, the less you receive it, because approval seeking makes you appear needy, desperate, and uncertain. When people feel like you need something from them, they lose respect for you. Respect isn't given to people who beg for validation. It's given to people who stand firm, regardless of whether others approve or not. The moment you make your value negotiable, people will negotiate it. They will lower it. They will test you, and they will expect you to keep lowering your standards to earn their acceptance. That's why approval chasers often end up doing more than everyone else, giving more than everyone else, and sacrificing more than everyone else. Yet, somehow they are always valued the least. They train others to believe that their worth is conditional, flexible, and cheap. Approval chasing is also deeply tied to fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being alone, fear of being misunderstood. But the irony is this: the more afraid you are of losing people, the easier it becomes for people to leave you. When you build your identity around making others happy, you become replaceable. There's nothing unique about a man who exists solely to please. There's nothing strong about a man who bends in every direction. People don't commit to someone like that. They use him temporarily because he's convenient. Once he stops being convenient, they move on. But the man who stops chasing approval becomes magnetic. He becomes grounded. People pay attention to him not because he tries to impress them, but because he displays authenticity and conviction. He doesn't change himself depending on the room he's in. He doesn't need applause to feel worthy. He doesn't crumble under criticism, and he doesn't tolerate disrespect simply to keep the peace. His boundaries, his voice, and his identity come from a place of inner strength rather than external praise. He doesn't need approval to lead. He leads because he has something to say and the courage to say it. When you stop chasing approval, you stop living reactively. Instead of asking, "What will they think if I do this?" you begin asking, "What do I think? What do I want? What do I believe is right?" You begin aligning your actions with your values instead of other people's expectations. You make decisions based on what strengthens you, not what impresses the crowd. And ironically, once you stop needing approval, you receive more respect, because people admire individuals who are self-defined. People trust men who don't need validation. They trust men who are consistent in who they are. They trust men who don't shift with every breeze of judgment. Approval chasing creates instability. Authenticity creates certainty. And certainty is one of the most attractive and respected qualities you can develop. The man who knows who he is, who doesn't beg for acceptance, who doesn't apologize for his standards, who doesn't fear disapproval. That man becomes a leader in every environment. Letting go of approval chasing doesn't mean becoming arrogant or rude. It means realizing that your worth isn't up for negotiation. It means understanding that confidence comes from self-respect, not from external applause. It means accepting that not everyone will like you. And that's not a problem. That's healthy. The goal of life isn't to be liked, it's to be respected. And respect comes from standing firm, expressing your truth, and refusing to let the world mold you into something you're not. When you stop chasing approval, you reclaim your power, your voice, and your identity. Weak boundaries are one of the biggest reasons men lose respect, lose opportunities, and lose themselves. A man without boundaries becomes a man without direction. When you allow people to cross your lines, take your time, drain your energy, or dictate your choices, you silently communicate that your needs do not matter and your voice carries no weight. You may tell yourself you're being polite, understanding, or flexible, but the world interprets weak boundaries as one thing: weakness, and weakness is always exploited. People will take as much as you allow. They will push as far as you permit. They will treat you exactly the way you teach them to treat you. The uncomfortable truth is that every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, you invite disrespect in the future. A man with weak boundaries becomes emotionally exhausted because he lives in a constant state of compromise. He gives more than he receives, struggles more than he admits, and tolerates more than he should. He says yes when every part of him is saying no. He accepts poor treatment because he fears losing people. He allows others to overstep because he wants to be seen as easygoing. He allows others to dictate his time, his priorities, and his peace, and little by little, his inner strength erodes. Weak boundaries create resentment because you continuously sacrifice your well-being, yet no one notices or appreciates it. In fact, the more you tolerate, the more people expect from you. Instead of being valued for your kindness, you become the go-to for burdens, favors, and emotional dumping. You become the man everyone uses but nobody truly respects. Strong boundaries are not about aggression or dominance. They're about self-respect. They communicate that you know your worth, you understand your limits, and you protect your peace. A man with boundaries doesn't need to shout, threaten, or fight for respect. His presence, his consistency, and his refusal to tolerate disrespect speak louder than any words. When you have strong boundaries, you stop apologizing for prioritizing yourself. You stop explaining your decisions to people who have no right to question them. You stop giving access to individuals who haven't earned it. When you develop strong boundaries, everything about your life shifts. You stop chasing people because you realize you don't need them to validate you. You stop tolerating disrespect because you recognize your dignity. You stop living in fear of rejection because you understand that anyone who leaves when you set standards was never for you. Boundaries are the dividing line between the man who is controlled by the world and the man who controls his world. They allow you to operate from a place of power, clarity, and self-command. Boundaries are not walls that keep life out. They are gates that protect what truly matters. True confidence is not loud, flashy, or desperate for validation. It's not about pretending to be strong or acting tough for attention. True confidence comes from one thing: the certainty that you have built yourself into a man who can handle life. It comes from knowing you can provide, compete, adapt, and stand your ground no matter what the world throws at you. When a man moves with genuine confidence, he doesn't need to beg for respect or force people to acknowledge him. Respect becomes a natural byproduct of the way he carries himself, the discipline he shows, and the standards he lives by. But confidence doesn't appear out of thin air. It is built brick by brick through your habits, your actions, and your willingness to do hard things consistently. When you wake up early, even when you don't feel like it, you are building confidence. When you hit the gym after a long day because you made a commitment to yourself, you are building confidence. When you push through fear, discomfort, and uncertainty instead of running from it, you are building confidence. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on yourself. And that belief is the foundation of confidence. Men lose confidence when they lie to themselves, when they promise themselves they'll change, but never do, when they say they'll start tomorrow, then delay for months, when they keep tolerating habits they know are destroying them. Every broken promise chips away at your self-respect, and without self-respect, confidence cannot survive. Confidence requires congruence. Your actions must match your intentions. You must become a man who does what he says, who stands by his values, and who refuses to compromise his identity just to be liked. Confidence collapses when you look in the mirror and know you aren't living up to the potential you know you have. Another critical part of confidence is taking responsibility for your life. A confident man does not blame circumstances, people, or luck. He understands that excuses weaken him. When you blame the world, you give your power away. When you accept responsibility, you take your power back. Confidence grows when you face the truth, even when it's brutal. You acknowledge your shortcomings, your weaknesses, your failures, not to feel guilty, but to gain clarity on what must be fixed. Responsibility gives you direction, and direction gives you purpose, which fuels confidence. True confidence is not performative. You don't have to announce it, prove it, or show it off. Confident men have a calm presence, not because life is easy, but because they trust their ability to handle adversity. They know they have built the strength to endure hardship and the intelligence to figure out solutions. They know they have earned every inch of their progress. When you build confidence the right way, through discipline and self-mastery, it becomes quiet and steady. Loud people are usually insecure. Quiet confidence comes from a man who is grounded, stable, and focused. Confidence also shapes how others treat you. People can sense real self-assurance. They can see it in your posture, your tone, your choices, your consistency. When you walk like you don't need validation, the world meets you with respect. When you speak with conviction, people listen. When you maintain standards, people follow them. When you respect yourself, others instinctively respond in kind. True confidence turns you into someone others gravitate toward, but cannot manipulate. You become a leader without asking to be one. Women especially respond to confidence because it signals strength, reliability, and direction. Not insecurity, not neediness, not desperation, but certainty. A man who respects his mission, who knows his worth, who is improving himself daily, becomes naturally attractive. He doesn't chase, he doesn't beg, he doesn't prove. He simply lives in alignment with his purpose, and that alignment communicates everything. Confidence built through discipline makes you undeniable. And here's the final truth. Confidence is a skill, not a personality trait, not luck, not something you're born with. It is built, earned, reaffirmed every single day through effort and self-control. If you want to become a man who commands respect effortlessly, then become a man who respects himself relentlessly. Develop habits that strengthen your mind. Create standards that elevate your behavior. Surround yourself with people who expect excellence, and take every challenge as an opportunity to sharpen who you are. When you build confidence through discipline, responsibility, and self-respect, you become unshakable. People may doubt you, criticize you, or misunderstand you, but nothing can break a man who's anchored from within. Confidence built from the inside out becomes the armor you carry into every battle and the engine that drives every achievement.